don't. Hey, there he is. Hello, Harley.
Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Wonderful. I want you to tell us all about this article that you put together after the Mueller catastrophe for the demon rats, and the game is being played by the British intel, and the game is being played by American intel agencies and the media collaborating to paralyze the American government.
Well, there are, I think, two first approximations to understand what happened with the Mueller testimony. First of all, it should put to rest any argument that there was a crime committed by President Trump or his campaign. Mueller had repeated opportunities to say there were crimes committed. He didn't do it in the report, and the stumbling around in his pathetic testimony did not give the Democrats what they wanted, which was a smoking gun.
Right.
Now, the second point is, unfortunately, the lunacy of the people who want to impeach Trump will prevent them from accepting the verdict of Mueller and the American people that there's nothing there.
Right.
And will continue to push for impeachment, continue to insist that the fact that Mueller didn't say Trump was innocent, that proves there was something wrong.
They just want to harm him enough he loses the election. They're not expecting to impeach because without the control of the Senate, they just like when they took the 2018 election, they kept the Wiseman and the attack dogs, Democratic attack dogs called the Demon Rats, kept it going so they could lose the House to the Democrats. And this is what they're trying to do with Trump. They figure if they keep it up, enough people will be stupid enough to believe the Democrats and their lies that Trump will lose the election. That's what they're up to. That's the whole purpose here. They know they're not going to impeach him. None of them believe that. They know that it's not
true. Bill, I think there are some Democrats who are deluded enough to think that there's enough evidence that they could convince Republicans in the Senate to vote with them.
I don't think so. I think there's a small number of Republicans, but most Republicans know that there's a few we call rhino Republicans, but to be honest with you, the move so far, even among Democrats, there's a lot of Democrats that don't support this.
Well, I'm not saying Republicans will do it. I'm saying they're Democrats like Adam Schiff.
But he's an anomaly. These guys are a minority of the Democrats. There's a lot of blue dog Democrats. There's no way they're going to try to push this. Even ones that are experienced, have been in the House for years, they know this is the stupidest thing possible because it's going to guarantee Trump will waltz right in and become the 2020 president.
You and I know that, Bill.
Yeah.
But there are probably, I would say, 20 to 25% of the Democrats in the U.S. House who believe that with the media on their side, if they keep going at this, they'll eventually get something that will break.
Oh, my God. I mean, honestly, I don't know where their IQ is, but really.
Well, but these are the same people. These are the same people who are doing it because they don't want Trump to succeed with his efforts to shift America strategically away from British geopolitical confrontation with Russia and China, which has been the norm for the last two presidencies. Going back to G.W. Bush with the regime change wars, with the Project for a New American Century, the idea of American unilateralism, the end of history.
Right.
And then the Democrats under Obama, who had the same policies, in fact, even in some cases even more extreme than the Republicans as an imperial colonial force. You could say that they couldn't be so crazy as to think that they can force Russia to back down. The fact is, they do believe that. People like Bolton, John Bolton, believes that if you look crazy enough and flex your muscles enough, you could force Vladimir Putin to surrender. And that's why he's pushing Trump.
What's he going to surrender? I mean, I'll be honest with you.
That he'll accept American domination, he'll accept the American so-called rules-based order. Bolton doesn't understand.
I don't know where these people are getting these ideas. I think what happens is they get in these committees where two or three people coming from the same 10 schools or other places or secret orders repeat things that they've talked about to each other at secret meetings, and they somehow believe it because it came from a different mouth or a different head.
Well,
it's bizarre to me that they are this stupid that they can assume with a long history of Russia, Russia's going to bow to them when in fact now even China and Russia are using a different SWIFT-like financial transfer system. So the hegemony of the British and the Federal Reserve financial system is crumpling. And this is what's so dangerous right now, because if we don't move toward Belt and Road and a unified world economic system that can rid of tariff and non-tariff barriers and stabilizes world currency, we are going to have a worldwide economic collapse, whether we like it or not.
Well, Bill, here's the point I'm trying to make. You and I look at this and realize that these are people who hold crazy views.
Right.
But these are reinforced by think tanks that are funded by hundreds of millions of dollars from some of the wealthiest donors in the country. And the argument that some of these guys have in the back of their heads is that these rich people got rich because they're smart. Right. Not that they know how to game the system, but they're smart. So maybe we should be on their side and play along with them. This is how the British Empire works. They basically say to someone, you can be a peon all your life, fighting against the tide, against the system, or you can join us, accept our lunacy, and we'll make it worth your while. And the problem is that people sell their souls for money, for power, for prestige, to be in important institutions, to be seen as a commentator on CNN. You know, if you listen to CNN, half of what's said is such obvious nonsense. Right. You wonder, do these guys really believe it? But the fact is, they do. They brainwash themselves to think that this is the only way to think. And Bill,
actually, I'll go one step further, and this is one of the things that I often discuss when I have even guests on, is we want to think that they're just mentally ill, because it's not even just greed, because greed and even sexual perversion can't explain some of this. I honestly think these people are possessed, or something is really darkly wrong that transcends a human form of evil. It's right out of the Bible. I mean, I don't think this makes even common sense. For example, if you're honest with yourself in business, you're probably going to succeed because you're honest. But when people like these politicians do this, for example, it's almost certain we're seeing what's called the self-immolation of the Democratic Party. They are committing a form of the Japanese ceremony in front of a statue of a previous, lord of Japanese history, of the harikari. They're putting in the sword of a samurai sword, and they're disemboweling themselves in public. And the media are doing the same thing. They're shrinking even their audience for buying commercial time on CNN and so on. This guy, Zucker, that's running the CNN, this guy is a business idiot. It's like taking a business that's moderately successful and destroying it. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, the thing that's interesting to me is that throughout history, there have been moments where psychosis dominated leading institutions.
Right.
And these have been periods of war, of chaos, of unleashing diseases, all kinds of things, catastrophes. And afterwards, the survivors look at this and say, how were we so foolish to allow these people to rule us?
Well, I tell people what it is. If you don't understand the spiritual element of this, you never can make sense. Because if you go to visit, and I've been at a psychiatric institute, and you've seen crazy people, but I really believe there's a degree of psychosis that transcends human evil, that is literally like possession. Because when you actually listen to the comments these people make, like look at Omar, that's not even a real name, or Talib, or you listen to Jerry Nadler, or this poppy-eyed maniac of the Intel Committee that's running this hearing with Mueller, and it was like elder abuse. It was like really ridiculous. The way he was stumbling around, not even knowing the comments were already said in the document that he published with his name on it, that he probably didn't even write. It's just disgusting. And what we have now is we have these shadow government running the world as a proxy of the United Nations and the British and their overlords running bubble economies around the world to the tune of hundreds of quadrillions of dollars. And they're desperate to make sure that America and the West never makes an alliance with Russia and China and has a Belt and Road. Remember, the First and Second World War probably came out of the fear that the Germans and Russians were going to build a Trans-Siberian Railway. And they're afraid of an alliance, a technical alliance. In fact, when people don't understand this, when the partition happened with East and West Germany, Putin still speaks German inside his own private government because he worked in Germany so long in East Germany. So people don't understand this, that the British and the Queen, I call it Chief Reptile, and the intel agencies around the world, financial systems through the reserve banks, They don't want Glass-Steagall. They don't want a trade system that benefits third world countries, so they want to emigrate to America. They say there's 247 million people want to immigrate here. No wonder, because we're devastating the rest of the world, and we don't have currency standards and stable economies and tariff and non-tariff barriers. And now this war with China is wrecking China. I mean, China is losing a large portion of its business and are migrating away simply because we're not working on a deal.
No, let's take something, though, to go back a step. What does Adam Schiff think when he's speaking? He actually believes what you and I are saying is crazy.
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe he believes it. I think the man
I think he does. I've met him. I've talked to him.
You've met him? Yeah. Listen, that is a really bad sign. That's like you're a psychiatrist. You've met a crazy person who believes he's actually, walked right up and talked to the devil himself. I mean, honestly, God, Adam Schiff, if he actually believes this, and he's got this strange face where his eyes pop like he's some kind of a gopher, if he actually believes this, he needs to be institutionalized, because this is not normal thought.
Well, I think that's probably true, but the point is there are a lot of people who should be institutionalized who are useful to the ruling elites because of the role they play.
Well,
And so someone like Schiff, who will say things that no one else will say. Like Schiff is still insisting that there's evidence of collusion when he's been asked repeatedly, where is this evidence? And he says, we'll bring it out. We're still looking for it. We know it's there. This is known as a delusional state of mind. And the problem is that many of the Democrats have become desperate because they don't have a policy. Their policies are Wall Street policies, which they know are unpopular. The Democratic Party has become a pro-war party, joining the Republicans as a pro-war party.
Well, isn't it? That's funny. When they were about to start bombing after the global hawk came down, and as Trump said, I'm not going to kill 150 Iranians just for knocking down a global hawk, even though it was $140 million. They were, what do you mean? And they were at first criticizing him, then they were criticizing for not starting a damn war. Is that bizarre or what? And these are the Democrats, Pelosi and the other maniacs, criticizing for not starting something which is a stupid war we don't need.
Well, Bill, think back to your younger days when there was the Church Committee, and Democrats were highly suspicious of the CIA and the FBI. They knew they were corrupt institutions that were operating not for the good of the country, but for the good of private interests.
Yeah.
Now look at them today.
Right.
These Democrats are cheerleading the same institutions that 30 years ago they were correctly identifying as out of control, warmongering, dangerous institutions.
I think the shadow government has taken over parts of both parties. That's what I think.
Well, significant parts of both parties.
Yeah.
And one of the people they had was Donald Trump.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. I mean, this was such a catastrophe, and I can still hear the drum roll from Adam Schiff and Nadler. It's disgusting. This kind of mental illness being displayed on the news media every day and paralyzing our government from doing thoughtful things. In fact, just in the news on Drudge, another asteroid just whipped past Earth, and it could have been a city killer. And they didn't even notice it coming.
One thing quickly to go back to that. Right after the hearing, Nadler went to the Democrat and said, let's start drafting the bill of impeachment now. And Pelosi said, calm down. That would be crazy.
You know, at least Pelosi has a little common decency. You know why? You know why Trump doesn't make up a pseudonym for Pelosi? Because he respects her. She's in the opposition, but she's not nuts. How's that? She has a little common sense.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love? NutriMedical's Life Support has arrived. All of your daily nutritional requirements in one quick, delicious drink. Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support is a proprietary blend of vegan protein, activated vitamins, essential minerals, amino acids, probiotics, green tea, digestive enzymes, anti-inflammatories, cancer prevention, detoxification, and much more. Your body will high-five you for this one. Life Support is the best complete nutritious meal replacement replacement on the market. Whether you are an elite athlete, have post-operative challenges, chronic illness, elderly, or a family that just wants a quick, delicious drink, try Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support for optimized nutrition in one great-tasting smoothie. Just add cold water, almond milk, fruit, or anything else you like. NutriMedical's Life Support. Try our great-tasting chocolate or vanilla today. Call 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com. NutriMedical.com for the whole family.
Red Deer Velvet DR is an amazing new product with a patent to preserve 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones, same as fetal life, where you don't age at all. The state of fetal life allows the 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones produced by the placenta to be supportive of the regeneration of tissues and organs, with maximum apoptosis changing the tissue and organ structure of a fetus. That's why if fetal surgery is performed, there is no scar. Taking 2 to 3 capsules twice a day with oncomycin, myco-D2, provides an amazing support for regeneration of any tissue and organ in the body, and even advanced stem cell therapy support treatment. Do get NutriMedical's Red Deer Velvet DR from Dr. Bill Deagle at NutriMedical.com, NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. Stay well and stay young with NutriMedical. Lumen photon therapy, infrared light, far and near infrared, is extremely important for pain control, stimulation of nitric oxide, improved perfusion, and stem cell activation and reduction of cytokines. Dr. Bill uses it for pain control, for regeneration techniques, for organ regeneration, and for stimulation of your stem cell activity. This amazing lumen photon therapy this year will probably have an additional device with frequency therapy during the on phase of the lights. To obtain a lumen photon machine, contact Dr. Bill at NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. He'll prescribe it with the providing nutraceuticals to help with your regeneration, healing, and pain control. Nothing like the lumen photon therapy for easy therapy for your eyes, your pain, your joints, regeneration of organs, detoxification of the body. Get a lumen photon machine from Dr. Bill Deagle, NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. To stay well with NutriMedical. The Sonic Life Machine is one of the most amazing therapies that Dr. Bill provides. It is the best sine wave exercise machine on the planet, doing whole body vibration, opening up the muscle to reduce insulin resistance, improve perfusion, release stem cell therapies throughout the body, and epigenetically stimulate the body to release DNA activated. The epigenetic therapy with the sine wave curve of frequencies given for atomic resonance, but Linus Pauling for minerals and amino acids stimulates the production of messenger RNA to correct structural protein enzyme deficiency for almost every illness. There's nothing like the sine wave therapy for improving body healing for exercise, but also the epigenetic treatments Dr. Bill can provide can help neutralize frequencies for disease states and illness. Get a Sonic Life machine through Dr. Bill Deagle at NutriMedical.com. Contact us at NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871, or go to the website NutriMedical and give us a contact. Dr. Bill is available to help you get well with NutriMedical.
Need a powerful ally to fight daily bugs and serious pathogens? Allicin Med is the powerful universal pathogen killer's latest advance of German-sourced allicin, enzymatically stabilized to clear the body of bacteria, fungi, mycobacteria, and parasites. It penetrates body biofilms and is non-toxic to tissues. Pathogen resistance cannot develop for long-term body-optimized wellness. Clear stealth pathogens that promote autoimmune disease, cancer, and vascular inflammation and plaque and promote healing of tissues. Now pathogen-free. With 200 milligrams more power than prior Alamed, you can't get a more powerful ally to fight daily bugs and serious pathogens. Give your body what it needs. Allicin Med. Order Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutridyne at 888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com. That's 1-888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com. And listen to the NutriMedical Report on the Genesis Radio Network with open lines every weekday. NutriMedical.com, bringing nutrition and medicine together.
And welcome back. This amazing article you have here, I'll be posted and get up. It's called Anti-Trumpers in Shock. Mueller testimony proves there's no case for the Trump impeachment. I'd like you to continue this analysis because what I see happening is there's a couple things that Trump is doing wrong. He shouldn't push 5G network and GMO foods and recycle toxic water from hydrofracking areas that can have toxic hydrogen sulfide. These are minor things. They can be dealt with. Trump is basically trying to fix the border. He's trying to fix international trade, which will prevent war. And we have major problems with the Russians basically being put on notice by the Democrats and Republicans that there are a bunch of warmongers that want to start a war or a preemptive strike. In fact, in October 5th of 2017, the Russians did a simulation with up to a quarter of their population on a public statement they made in their Russian television that they were anticipating at some future date that the West was going to attack them with nukes. So we should understand that. For example, a Joint Strike Fighter F-35 is not a strike fighter. It's a stealth nuclear bomber carrying up to 6,600 kilograms that can come in on both Mach 2 with the radar signature of a bird, so there's no advance warning before it bombs a city or a military base to pieces. What we have to understand is the Russians are justifiably perturbed by the news media, although they maybe find it humorous. It's also dangerous. A lot of the people in Russia should understand the West doesn't want an alliance with Russia and China. In fact, Russia is being driven into the arms of China, and this is not good for the future because if there is a conflict in the future, it's very likely with a lack of proper military application of defense systems, America would lose that war. And it would be a Pyrrhic victory anyway because the survivors would envy the dead. It would be that bad. And there's no need for this, right?
Before we get into a completely pessimistic frame of mind about this, let me just tell you, I was at a meeting yesterday with some people from a leading think tank from China who works with the government, who are in Germany to talk to officials and think tanks in Germany about why Germany should change its official position of opposing the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, what these people told me and told us in our meeting about the official China-Russia relationship is that the Chinese want the U.S. to be a part of them.
Right.
They want to be what Lyndon LaRouche in 2007, before there were the BRICS, LaRouche called for the RIC agreement, Russia, India, and China joining with the United States. And this was picked up by then Foreign Minister of Russia, Yevgeny Primakov, who spoke about this. And when LaRouche went to Russia, Primakov said his idea and LaRouche's idea were completely compatible. Now, what did LaRouche say? Russia and China, or rather Russia and the U.S., are the two leading military superpowers with enough firepower to wipe out the world.
Right.
The U.S. and China are now the leading economic powers.
Right.
Russia and China share a long border and have mutual needs. The Russians need population in Siberia. They need business. They need jobs. And the Chinese need the oil and raw materials that could be produced in Siberia. Right. These are perfectly complementary alliances that should not be seen through the prism of British geopolitics, which sees every alliance as a potential threat to the power of the British Empire. That's what geopolitics is about. It was set up as a field of study by a lunatic named Halford Mackinder, who was flailing around with no academic appointment, kind of a flop, until he came up with this idea of the geographical pivot of history, which was this idea that if Eurasian countries unite, and in particular if Central Europe, namely Germany, and Russia unite, the era of British control of the world is over.
Right.
And so geopolitics is the study of how you use national cultures and differences to pit nations against each other, and by the way, also to pit different populations within a nation against each other to weaken the potential enemy nation. This is an update of the divide and rule strategy of the British colonialism.
Right.
But what Mackinder argued in particular is that a Russia-China alliance that would link up with Western Europe would be the end of the British Empire. Now, there's a very prominent institution in London today called the Henry Jackson Society. Do you remember Senator Henry Jackson from Washington State? He was a conservative Democrat, pro-war, kind of a forerunner to today's Democrats. And
Right.
when he died, a couple of very wealthy Brits set up a foundation named after him to recruit Americans to Britain to deepen the American-British alliance. Now, the Henry Jackson Foundation works very closely with Georgetown Center for Strategic and International Studies.
Right.
The CSIS is more important than the Council on Foreign Relations because many of the people now occupying positions in the State Department, the Justice Department, the Defense Department come out of CSIS.
Right. Which
Now,
the Canadian, which is the intelligence training center in a sense for these people are acting as puppets for British intel and control of the world geopolitical stage, if you want to call it.
Exactly. And the way the Brits play it is they say, well, we want to benefit from your experience.
Oh, yeah,
But
sure.
what they say is, the Americans would be nothing without our brains.
Oh, come
Now,
on.
When I was preparing for this meeting yesterday, I started reading some of the recent papers put out by this Henry Jackson Society.
Right.
And they're all oriented at how to build an opposition, what they call an alternative model to the Belt and Road. And what they say is that China's Belt and Road Initiative is popular with poor countries because it's a source of credit. It's popular with developed countries such as Italy, some of the countries in Eastern Europe, because it's a source for trade. And then it goes on to say that they're planning to win over Germany and the United States by working out trade agreements. And so it said what must be done is that the British have to highlight the cultural differences between Asia and the West. And right on cue, what happens? You have Pompeo coming out cheerleading what are essentially a bunch of terrorists in Hong Kong,
Right.
who are going in and destroying the Congress, the city Congress in Hong Kong. So you have an escalation of tension now, not only in the Persian Gulf, which is directed by the same people. By the way, on the Henry Jackson Society, you know who the honorary chairman of the board is? Sir Richard Dearlove.
Oh, no.
Former
The guy that
MI6
was directly involved with the deal with blowing the whistle and getting things started with the initial investigations in the FISA court, etc.
the Russiagate. He's also the guy who gave Colin Powell the dodgy dossier on Iraq's weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, in other words, this is where the Schwinn ice cream truck looked like it was a weapon of mass destruction. So it caused us to spend trillions of dollars and have many thousands of American lives lost in equipment, and it caused us trillions of dollars of debt because of Dearlove. And he's got a really good name. Dearlove must be a satanic name for love your Satan.
Well, as someone who probably has sex with deer.
Right. Oh, my gosh.
Now, this guy, Dearlove, is also very close with Sir Malcolm Rifkind, who is a former foreign minister of Britain. They are using the position they have to do two things. One, they're playing as though they want to be part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And this is one of the things the British do. They find an idea that they can't subvert, so they try and co-opt it and turn it into their own idea. So how are they doing it? They're offering the Chinese the services of the City of London so that if the Chinese make the yuan convertible, which they're doing, that instead of having to go to an alternative to SWIFT or some other new system, they can fund their trade and transactions through London. Now, the Chinese are pretty clever. They said, all right, we'll give you 2% of our foreign trade transactions. And the British went a little crazy. They said, well, we're about to leave the European Union. We need more than that. And the Chinese say, well, we want to give you a trial period. So now the Brits are forced to be nice to the Chinese. At the same time, they're trying to tell everyone else, stay away from China. So one of the things I've been writing about is that the contradictions inherent in this British colonial policy are now in the open. For example, there's subversion of the Trump administration. It's in the open. Trump knows it. He now sees very clearly the British hand against him. The British role in trying to overthrow the government of Italy is very clear because some of the anti-Lega politicians in Italy have been meeting with top Brits in Brussels to plan out some kind of scam or legal attack on Salvini, the head of the Lega.
Right.
So
they're going to continue to try to see if because Italy is, I think, is it the third largest economic power in Europe? Is Italy?
Well, if Britain is out of the EU, Italy is third. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And in fact, Italy also has one of the largest populations.
Italy has a debt problem and a banking problem, which is largely the result of the European Union. Right. But it also still has a very significant manufacturing base.
Yeah.
Especially in areas of machine tool production, propulsion. There was an aerospace sector in Italy many years ago associated with the scientist Beltrami.
Right.
So, and by the way, the other thing from Italy, Bill, you'll like this. I'll have to send this to you. Over 100 of the top scientists in Italy just signed a manifesto denouncing the Paris Climate Accord as fake science, as a fraud.
Oh, wow.
Or a reconsideration of the so-called science that went into their proclamations.
Right, which is a good thing because that's at least they got to do that. The Germans didn't they?
Well, the Germans are completely in a green swamp right now.
Right.
Von der Leyen, who just was named president or elected president of the European Council by 7 votes out of 750 votes,
right,
did it by promising to escalate the decarbonization of Europe.
Wow.
So
I know it's the decarbonization. This is the most insane thing I ever heard. Carbon dioxide is the fuel for converting to oxygen. And 80% of the oxygen comes from phytoplankton in the upper benthic layer of the oceans at 10 meters. So this is pure insanity, isn't it?
Well, if you get rid of carbon life forms, you're going to have to get rid of humans.
Well, the oxygen concentration has dropped from 21 to 19% at sea level now. And the ozone layer is thinning because of decreased oxygen and decreased magnetic field of the Earth. So the protection against incoming cosmic radiation, X-rays, and zeta particles is reducing, which is toxic to life forms on Earth, and people don't get it. They don't realize that we could actually, by doing carbon capture, it cause an extinction level event. That's how stupid this is.
Well, and my point is that in Italy you have independent thinkers who are no longer marching in lockstep with the fascist bureaucrats of the European Union, who really are just there for the sake of protecting the incompetent bankers.
And by the way, the bankers are behind this. They're not interested in the environment or defensive Earth strategy, like LaRouche talked about. They're simply interested in totalitarian control. Totalitarian control is all they want, right?
Yep. And that's why they turned the environmental movement into a bunch of crazies like the Extinction Rebellion, which yesterday defaced statues all over Saxony of Goethe, Leibniz, Mendelssohn, Schumann, and they did it because they said, we want to show you that these people will become irrelevant when human race ceases to exist because of global warming.
Oh my gosh. They're AOC on steroids, one we call her absent a cortex. AOC, absent a cortex. Amazing. Well, we're going to be gone for a few minutes break here. We'll be back with more amazing information. Again, go to LaRouchePAC.com and get the information, LaRouchePUB.com. Back in a couple of minutes with Harley from Germany and LaRouche Foundation. Solutions for your mind, your world. We need to get you to contact your politicians and get them to listen to the program, follow through with changes, put in Glass-Steagall, get America and the West involved with Belt and Road. Trade, not war. How's that? Trade, not war is the call. We'll be back in a moment with more from Harley Schlanger.
Are you still looking for that one iodine that you can really trust? A medical doctor-endorsed product that is backed by honest research and true integrative science? Then search no further. Go to NutriMedical.com for Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutriodine, proven time and time again to be the very best iodine available for you. Nutriodine is the only Tesla-activated monatomic plasma iodine in the world. It optimizes mitochondrial function and generation of new mitochondria, from totally neutralizing the venom from a desert recluse spider bite in Southern California to eliminating malaria parasites reported by medical missionaries in Central India. Dr. Bill's Nutriodine is simply the most powerful healing formula there is. Nutriodine clears the body of all known pathogens, restores it to an alkaline state, and even promotes stem cell regeneration. Order Dr. Bill's Nutriodine today at 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com.
Red Deer Velvet DR is an amazing new product with a patent to preserve 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones, same as fetal life, where you don't age at all. The state of fetal life allows the 300 biomolecules and 6 hormones produced by the placenta to be supportive of the regeneration of tissues and organs, with maximum apoptosis, changing the tissue and organ structure of a fetus. That's why if fetal surgery is performed, there is no scar. Taking 2 to 3 capsules twice a day with oncomycin, myco-D2, provides an amazing support for regeneration of any tissue and organ in the body, and even advanced stem cell therapy support treatment. Do get NutriMedical's Red Deer Velvet DR from Dr. Bill Deagle at NutriMedical.com, NutriMedical.com, 888-212-8871. Stay well and stay young with NutriMedical.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Deagle, MD, AAEM, ACAM, A4M, of NutriMedical.com, and a consultant providing email advice free on advanced protocols for your optimized wellness and advanced technologies to heal and regenerate you. You can contact us at NutriMedical.com, that's NutriMedical.com, or 888-212-8871. You get free email starter protocols of our top medical-grade nutraceuticals, initial testing, and recommendations for your own primary doctor to do, as well as recommendations to give you an idea of a consultation and a full protocol to try to help you regenerate your tissues, heal naturally without the use of toxic polypharmacy. I can send test kits to you as well anywhere in the world and provide you recommendations for referral of specialty clinics worldwide. So contact me, Dr. Bill Deagle, at NutriMedical.com. That's NutriMedical.com, or 888-212-8871.
At NutriMedical.com, we have the most amazing drinks with the best mouthfeel, highest quality bionutrient exposure to your body to heal and regenerate, and the most powerful persistence of nutrients to heal your body dramatically. We have Ageless, which makes you age less, which repairs your DNA, extends your telomeres, etc. We have Life Support that detoxes phase 2 detox pathways, glucuronidation, sulfation, and methylation pathway support. We have Glycemics that blocks the carbohydrate absorption and helps with diabetes or weight loss, and as well helps with people that are trying to build up muscle, using things like our special formulas from Dr. Wolf called Mega Muscles between meals along with Sports Energy Light. We have the amazing NutriComplete, the most complete red and greens drink in the world, with the best mouthfeel and flavor. You can often mix it too with Vitamin Mineral Mix, which is our fruit-flavored mixed power of vitamins. Stay well with NutriMedical every day.
I remember when I lost my mind.
And welcome back. And Harley Lisa continues your analysis. This article, by the way, I think is one everybody should read. It's going to be posted up on Deagle-Network.com. And, of course, we broadcast it over and put it, the shows over to all our podcast platforms, including YouTube. We sent it over to Red State Talk Radio, Revolution Radio, and, of course, now we're on CRN Talk Radio 6 north of Los Angeles. And we sent it also over to our radio.co station out of the UK. So everybody should have a chance to see this information. And if we push our politicians to do the right thing, the wrong thing should be something of the past, we can then start thinking positively about the future, that the future involves a defensive Earth strategy, defensive world economy, defense of the ecology of the planet. And then we don't need to be so fearful or wasteful of giant budgets for the military. We can share missile defense systems, defense against biological weapons, and technology that allow us to move into a future safely instead of one of danger. Please continue.
Well, I just got a very important message on a meeting going on now in Brazil. The BRICS that we were talking about earlier, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa,
right,
are having a pre-summit to prepare for their full meeting coming up, I think, in September in Brazil. And Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov is there. And he reported that Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, has rejected Secretary of State Pompeo's request that he not visit China, because Pompeo is trying to counter the economic initiatives of China and South America. The Brazilians said, why shouldn't we go there? They represent an important economy that wants to invest in Brazil.
You're kidding. In other words, Pompeo thinks he has the right to actually tell a foreign power not to do, to even talk about trade arrangements that might help many other nations.
Well, they put enormous pressure on the government of Panama to do the same. But here's what's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Lavrov was asked, well, given your opposition to the U.S. policy of sanctions and pressure,
right,
do you think there's a possibility for the U.S. and Russia to work together? And he said he trusts that President Trump wants to join the right side of history.
Right.
He said by that he means the fight for peace. And he said Trump and Putin had discussions in Osaka, which showed that the President of the United States is willing to look for mutually acceptable solutions.
Wow.
Then he said, time will show if this willingness is translated into action by the foot soldiers. And they said, what do you mean about foot soldiers? And he said, well, let's take the case of Iran. There are a number of hotheads in Washington who are eager to resolve the Iranian problem by military means. We do not believe that President Donald Trump has this attitude. I have a feeling he does not share these views. Unfortunately, many U.S. politicians are still exploring this option, the option of war with Iran. Now, here's a case of the foreign minister of Russia, probably one of the closest people to Putin and most important in working with Putin in developing a Russian foreign policy, who is saying that the problem between Russia and the United States is not between Putin and Trump, but the people who are trying to get rid of Trump. And that the Russians are more than willing to work with Trump, and they think Trump is willing to work with them. Right. And that's precisely what Xi Jinping said. And what's going to happen at the end of this month, just in a couple of days, is that Lighthizer and Mnuchin are going back to China to renew the trade talks. And what Mnuchin said is, look, we don't have any silver bullet. We don't know if we're going to resolve all the difficulties, but we are talking. China has agreed to buy more agricultural products. We made an acceptable agreement to them on Huawei that protects our security and theirs. And what Mnuchin said is President Trump is eager to continue working with Xi Jinping to solve both U.S.-China bilateral problems and multilateral problems such as North Korea. So here you see...
Yeah, and it's tied, by the way, North Korea is tied directly to making a trade deal with China, period.
Yeah.
And Russia. Russia's nuclear weapons are completely modernized, including since the first talk with Kim, by Russia. Without a trade deal, there's no denuclearization of Venezuela, Nicaragua, North Korea, or Iran. It's totally dependent on a trade deal, isn't it? Totally dependent on trade.
I have sources that disagree with you about nuclear weapons in Venezuela and Nicaragua, but that's a second point.
Oh, that's not open to discussion, okay? We have other sources. In fact, I have the satellite photos and everything, so let's jump that, okay? Please continue.
There's Colin Powell has satellite photos too. But
no, I have other information. This is not open to discussion. Okay, please continue. Please continue.
The important point we're getting at is that both the Russians and the Chinese know the importance of the United States doing the good moral thing when it comes to international policy. And they know that under Bush and Obama, the United States became the world's largest rogue nation. You know, we carried out coups, we carried out wars, assassinations. We did things that really undermine the historic legacy of the United States as a nation that every other nation looks to. And what Putin
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've done a lot of evil, haven't we, in the world?
Well, and what Putin and Xi talk about when they talk about Trump is someone who's breaking with that tradition and that they want to work with him.
Right.
Now, this is what the Russiagate operation was designed to prevent.
Right.
And that's one of the things I wrote about in an article 2 weeks ago, is that the same people who are attacking China, the same people who are promoting the climate change, decarbonization, and destruction of American industry, the same people promoting the free trade agreements that have destroyed U.S. manufacturing, they're the same people who are out to impeach Trump. It's a clear, slam dunk proof that the pro-British Wall Street, City of London crowd is controlling U.S. policy, and they're fearful that a second term of Trump will destroy their power. Now,
oh, yeah. In fact, I think that they've actually figured that out, haven't they?
Well, this was stated explicitly in a report issued last December by the House of Lords, which said that, well, Trump is an inconvenience for us right now, but the special relationship can last beyond his first term. However, if he's reelected, that could change everything. So what does that mean? That means these guys are committed to working with the Ocasio-Cortez, who's, these are just small players. I mean, I think Trump is making a mistake building them up so much. I know he's doing it for strategic political purposes, but these are minor figures who represent pawns that are being used by much more important figures. And I think Trump's base will understand that if Trump said, look, Ocasio-Cortez is just a little actor playing a role given to her by people like Sir Richard Dearloffe and John Brennan.
Right.
Don't you think people would understand that?
Yeah, and I think that we are closer to war and to a disaster than people want to hear. Yeah. And that, in fact, the weaponization of the South China Sea Islands by short-range nuclear missiles and the weaponization of La Orchila Island and Nicaragua are not open to opinion. The fact is that if we don't have a peace, for example, most of the biological weapons developed in the biopreparat north of Moscow with the fall of the Soviet Union were transferred to Tehran and to Syria. In fact, I know both the names and the methods by which they actually transferred the scientists. They couldn't buy borscht or sausage. They were transferred to Tehran with the biopreparat weapons. So we're not just dealing with stupid people. The Iranians are not dense. They got one of our drones and re-engineered it. They have anti-missile systems. And the fact is that a war with Iran would be very, very devastating, would bankrupt America, would close off the Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz, would collapse the world economy, and probably, if it happened before the 2020 elections, would make sure Trump doesn't get elected. So
Bill,
this is important, isn't it?
The news from Tehran this week, where Ahmadinejad, who for many years was seen as the death to America president of Iran, came out and said Iran should negotiate with Trump. He said, look, Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman.
Exactly.
He sees things differently. And he said, we may not agree on a lot of things. We certainly won't agree on Israel, but we do agree that Iran doesn't need to build nuclear weapons, and we also agree that sanctions are not in the interest of the United States or Iran. So what's wrong with talking about it?
Well, I think Iran was the second largest gas producer in the world, and now their economy is teetering on collapse. And the fact is, it's a very large country. People don't realize how big Iran is. I mean, it's not a minor player, and they had 10 times as many more military operational officers as the Iraqis, for example, in the Iran-Iraq War, which is why we gave them weaponized anthrax and gave the anthrax vaccine to our troops, which killed a lot of them or made them very damn sick. I took care of some of them. And so what I see happening is this is another boondoggle like Colin Powell. I've changed his name to Colin Powell because he's full of human fecal matter. And Dearlove, you mentioned earlier, gave the information that there was so-called weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which is total horse manure. And it also puts us in great danger to not only collapsing the world economy, but the New World Order taking over and precipitating a thermonuclear, biological, chemical, and scalar weather warfare against major powers. And people don't understand this. This is very dangerous, and it's a lot closer to a catastrophe than even the Cuban Missile Crisis. And there's multiple layers to this. I mean, you can just have somebody from the cybernetic hacking from Jianzhen Blue Army in China to literally take down our power grid. You don't have to have a nuclear war. You just have to have power grid to collapse, or even a biological weapon released from a vial in the back of an apartment in Chicago. I mean, it doesn't require a full thermonuclear exchange or even a weather manipulation to cause massive superstorms.
Well, Trump understands this. That's why he was willing to, in a sense, give a go-ahead wink to Rand Paul to meet with the foreign minister of Iran.
Who has a heart and a common sense and doesn't want war and doesn't feel foreign entanglements, will bankrupt this country and destroy the planet because of the advanced powers that we and other so-called adversaries have. We actually should be natural allies to China and Russia, shouldn't we?
Well, we have in the past. I mean, in the two world wars of the last century, Russia was our ally.
Right.
In the fight against the British with the American Revolution, the Russians were among the founders of the League of Armed Neutrality, which was an anti-British operation.
Right.
The Civil War, the Russian Tsar, Alexander II, sent elements of the Russian Navy to San Francisco and New York City harbor to offer Russian protection in case the British tried to set up an embargo of the United States. So we have had an alliance. The important thing is that Russia is a nation with a history, with a culture. The Chinese have a long culture going back to especially Confucius. And I think when you talk about things people don't know, Benjamin Franklin had a whole section of his library with translations of the works of Confucius. And one of the leading Confucius scholars in America at the end of the 18th century was a close friend and collaborator of Franklin's.
Right.
So these are alliances that go a long way back. And what we have in common offers the potential for solutions to these geopolitical confrontations.
Yeah, as I've said before, we can choose trade over war. We can choose collaboration to defensive Earth against Earth changes that are occurring that are not related to human activity. We can talk about protecting the Earth against extinction-level events that occur because of galactic and solar activity. And we can also prevent the damaging effects of artificial intelligence destroying the culture. But it's going to require collaboration of advanced nations that have common sense and decency and care about the human race and all skin colors and all national backgrounds without destroying borders or without destroying some degree of autonomy. At the same time, we can collaborate. So your approach and the approach of the LaRouche Foundation is stellar. It's always been ahead of the curve. And that's why go to LaRouchePAC.com and LaRouchePUB.com. You'll find out the facts. This article will be posted up. Thank you, Harley. Amazing show again. Again, we are seconds to midnight, but midnight doesn't need to happen. We can avoid it if we pray and we do the right, decent thing, and we move toward peace and collaboration and trade, not war. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in a moment with hour number 3 with Dr. Betty Martini. In the second segment, Dr. Woodrow Monty, an MD, talking about aspartame and the formaldehyde, 11% content that decays wood alcohol, methanol to formaldehyde in its metabolic processes. We'll be back in a moment. Your questions are welcome. Stay on topic. 818-818-6401. Stay.
And the medicine for the blues.